What's good, Eagles fans? This is your guy, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports Philly, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. So, I want to talk to you guys about this upcoming matchup with the Washington football team. This is the home stretch. This is the last and final playoff push that the Philadelphia Eagles will have. And they can't afford to lose any more games. I'm a firm believer that if we lose against the Washington football team at any point, then we can good as well consider ourselves out of the playoff race. We have a chance to snag that seventh seed, maybe that sixth seed if another team slips. But the Washington football team is the team that we're actually facing this week. And granted, they have a lot of injuries, most notably COVID. They've had a huge outbreak on their team. I think they've placed about 18 players on the COVID list, and I think about about 8 or 9 of those guys were expected to be starters in this upcoming matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Most notably, their quarterback Kyle Allen is considered out for that game. I know Terry McLaurin is dealing with a concussion. I know Tyler Heineke had a knee injury in the previous game against the Dallas Cowboys, and who knows if he's going to be 100%. Now we know Jalen Hurts obviously isn't 100% right now. There's a chance Gardner Minshew make it to start. We really don't know quite of yet because they've been splitting reps. But this matchup is so important for Jalen Hurts, for the simple fact that he can actually indicate to this team, to the city, that he's legit or that he's trending in that direction. Now, we all know Jalen Hurts has had bad games this season. He's had good games this season. He's had mid-tier games this season. But he has to have the game of a lifetime. He has to have the best 4-game stretch of his career, because right now he doesn't really have the most impressive record when it comes to playing his divisional opponents. Now, I don't want to completely hold that against him because he's still a work in progress. But we can't ignore the fact that Jalen Hurts, I think he's about 0-4 or 0-5 in division games. If you go through his game log, he lost to the New York Giants this season, and he lost to the Dallas Cowboys earlier in the year. That's 2 division games that he's lost. And I believe he lost to the Giants last year. He lost to the Cowboys last year, and he lost to the Washington football team. So he doesn't really have too much to stand on as it pertains to the division opponents. And the thing is, the division games are the most important games when it comes to Philly sports. When it comes to the NFC East, when it comes to the NFL in general, your division games are the games that you're supposed to at least show up and play your absolute best football. And he has not done that in his games past, most notably against the Giants, where he threw 3 interceptions. For some odd reason, it seemed like he got beside himself and felt the need to force things. But if we're going to catch the Washington football team slipping at any point, this week is the week. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. They got a lot of people on the COVID list that may not play. Another name that's really important for them is Jonathan Allen, their defensive tackle. There's a chance he may miss the game, but he's vaccinated, so all he has to do is pass 2 COVID tests. I believe about within 24 hours or 48 hours of the game, something like that. Whatever it is, the NFL has their COVID rules and protocols. Everyone doesn't really agree with it, but nonetheless, the Philadelphia Eagles have a legit chance to actually make a playoff push. And sure, this season didn't necessarily begin how we thought it would. But I believe that this team can actually win out. The most dire game may be the Dallas Cowboys game, because of the fact that I believe they're still going to try to make a push for that number 1 seed, especially given the fact that the Rams, even though they beat the Cardinals, they still look very human. You think about the Arizona Cardinals, like I said, they just lost. They look human as well. All these teams that are vying for that number 1 seed in the NFC all have some sort of flaw and are all liable to lose a game if they caught slipping. And I believe that the Dallas Cowboys will not rest their starters in that final game. I believe that they believe they can get that number 1 seed, and they're going to fight for that number 1 seed, because if things don't go through Dallas, they're not going to have a chance in this playoffs, especially the way their offense has been going, and they don't have a running game. But back to the Philadelphia Eagles, back to the Washington football team. The Washington football team, they're allowing teams to rush on them for about 4 yards a carry. That's right in the Eagles' wheelhouse. Once again, we need to rely heavily on what we do well. Like I say every week, we are a run-first team. This is the way we're currently constructed. It's the way we're currently built. It's how we've been winning most of our games as of late. And we're the number 1 rushing team in the NFL for good reason. So we need to lean more into that identity, especially going against a team that's allowing rushers to average 4 yards a carry. Defense. Defense has to show up. I know Tyler Heineke is nursing a knee injury, but Tyler Heineke has shown that he's capable of playing with the best. He beat the Buccaneers. We got to give him credit for that. He has some quality wins under his belt. So, and I think they beat the Raiders as well. If I'm not mistaken, I don't want to speak too soon. But the bottom line is Tyler Heineke. Tyler Heineke is someone that you have to worry about. Tyler Heineke is that type of guy who can get hot. He's streaky, and we have to give him credit for that. Tyler Heineke has shown that he's very capable of playing in his NFL, and I was right. They beat the Las Vegas Raiders 17-15. But this Washington football team, they're not really a team known for putting up points. If we're being completely honest with ourselves, I think they're only averaging about 20 points a game this season. So they're not nothing to really worry about on the offensive side of things, but their defense is very stout, and we have to give them credit where credit is due. Right now, as our team is averaging about 25, 26 points per game, so we're able to put some points on the board, but we're allowing opponents to have, on average, 22 points a game. So if we allow this Washington football team to start to get in the 20s, then we may be in trouble, especially knowing that their defense is as stout as it is, and we can't afford to play from behind this game. This is the kind of game where we have to make a statement early and often, and we can't play with our food, especially if the playoffs is the motion, if the playoffs is the motive. We didn't think the playoffs were even a thought this season, but because of the way things are shaking out, the way this NFL has been so competitive this year, it's really hard to really see this team not being able to make a playoff push, knowing what we know about this team. It seems as though the most dominant teams have a legit rushing attack, and they're capable of stopping the run. The toughest teams are beginning to separate themselves and are beginning to win out. And I understand some teams, their record says they're better than what they are. But I feel like when the playoffs come, the most physical team will win the game. The team that dominates time of possession will win the games. The teams that don't turn the ball over will win. And it's going to be important for Jalen Hurts and these running backs to not turn the ball over in this next 4-game stretch. We need Miles Sanders to be sturdy with the rock. We need Jalen Hurts to lock down on those interceptions and not necessarily put this team in jeopardy. All he has to do is come in and play complimentary football with his teammates, and he'll be just fine. I'm expecting Nick Sirianni to call better games as the weeks go. I'm really worried about Jonathan Gannon because he let Zach Wilson get very comfortable, and I'm afraid that he's going to allow Tyler Heineke to get comfortable as well. You can't allow the cornerbacks to play off of guys like Terry McLaurin if he plays, and other guys that they have talented, like Logan Thomas, I believe his name is, their tight end. But once again, I'm curious to see how this Philadelphia Eagles team prepares for this upcoming matchup. But at the end of the day, I'm really excited. This is really going to be a really interesting next 4-game stretch. The Philadelphia Eagles really, really have a lot at stake here, and they necessarily can't afford. They really can't afford to not be competitive. They can't afford to not make a statement, and it's really that simple for me. I'll leave it at that. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Sports Philly, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got turned into the game. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, most importantly, stay hungry, and fly, Eagles fly.